The Beast incarnate is back, and he's got unfinished business with the man who's been dominating Raw. This is WWE Express, and if you're not subscribed yet, hit that button and ring the notification bell right now because we're about to break down one of the most explosive confrontations brewing in WWE today. Brock Lesnar returning to confront Femi backstage is the kind of collision that reminds us why we love professional wrestling. These aren't just two guys standing face to face. This is a meeting between two completely different philosophies of power in the squared circle. On one side, you've got Brock Lesnar, the former WWE champion who's spent years establishing himself as an unstoppable force. He's the guy who's made a career out of dominating everyone in his path. His presence alone changes the entire dynamic of a show. And now he's stepping into a situation with Femi, a rising star who's been consistently displaying the kind of intensity and physical dominance that's impossible to ignore. What makes this so interesting from a storytelling perspective is the narrative construction at play here. Femi has been on an incredible trajectory, establishing himself as a legitimate threat on Raw. He's been involved in some compelling angles, and his physical presence is undeniable. But Brock Lesnar is a different animal entirely. When Brock decides to focus on someone, the entire landscape shifts. The question becomes whether Femi's momentum can withstand the kind of pressure that Brock brings to the table. The backstage confrontation element is crucial to understand. WWE's writers are clearly setting up tension without immediately jumping to a match announcement. This is smart psychology. It allows both performers to establish their characters through dialogue, through body language, and through the way they carry themselves. Brock historically thrives in these verbal exchanges because he brings an intimidating presence that goes far beyond wrestling ability. Femi, on the other hand, has the physical tools to stand toe-to-toe with almost anyone, but this would be his most direct encounter with someone of Brock's legacy status. From a character perspective, Femi has been building something serious. He's been portrayed as someone who doesn't back down, someone who's willing to stand up to virtually anyone on the roster. His work in various angles has shown a performer who's developing real depth. But Brock Lesnar is the kind of opponent that forces you to evolve. If Femi can hold his ground in this confrontation, even verbally, it elevates him significantly in the eyes of the audience. It says that he's not intimidated by the resume, by the accomplishments, by the size and the strength. It says he's a player at the highest level. Now let's talk about what this could lead to. If WWE is pulling Brock out for a backstage confrontation with Femi, they're clearly interested in building something between these two. The most direct path would be a match, but the timing and the context matter enormously. Are we talking about a one-off encounter, or is this the beginning of a longer program? Is this a moment where Femi proves himself against a legend, or is this the setup for a much bigger story down the line? One angle worth considering is how this fits into the broader Raw landscape. Femi has been part of some compelling storylines, and adding Brock Lesnar to that mix creates exponential interest. Fans want to see rising stars tested against the absolute best. That's how you evaluate talent in professional wrestling. That's how you determine who belongs in the main event picture and who's still developing. Brock vs. Femi would absolutely answer some of those questions, but the build matters just as much as the match itself. The backstage confrontation also sets up something else entirely. It allows WWE to gauge audience reaction in real time. How do fans respond when they see Brock Lesnar on their screens? How do they respond when Brock is put in direct opposition to Femi? These reactions inform creatives' next moves. If the crowd is losing their minds over the possibility of these two going at it, that becomes your direction. If there's something else more organic that develops from their interaction, WWE will pivot accordingly. What's also intriguing is the psychological element of Femi potentially proving he's not just about physical dominance. Every top competitor needs that dimension. They need to be able to hold their own in verbal confrontations, in strategic moments, in situations where brute strength alone doesn't determine the outcome. If Femi can show that layer against someone like Brock Lesnar, it adds significant depth to his character and makes him feel like a more complete performer. Brock's involvement in this situation also speaks to where he is in his career arc. Every time Brock steps into a storyline, it's a signal that creative believes there's something significant brewing. He's not going to be used for throwaway segments or mid-card angles. When Brock shows up and focuses on someone, that person is being elevated by association. The fact that Brock is looking at Femi means WWE sees something in this young performer worth investing in at that level. The physicality we could potentially see between these two is something wrestling fans dream about. Brock's wrestling intelligence combined with his destructive power, facing off against Femi's size, strength, and increasingly polished in-ring work, would create compelling matches. Their styles would mesh in interesting ways. There's legitimate athletic competition potential here that goes beyond just narrative. These two have the tools to create something special physically if they're given the opportunity. As we move forward, this confrontation represents one of those pivotal moments where multiple storylines could branch off. It's not just about Brock versus Femi. It's about what it means for everyone around them. It's about how other performers react to seeing these two collide. It's about positioning in the overall hierarchy of Raw talent. It's about the audience's investment in seeing what happens next. The storytelling possibilities are genuinely exciting here. Professional wrestling at its best creates these moments where you have legitimate curiosity about what comes next. You don't know exactly how the situation will resolve. You don't know what each performer's motivations will evolve into. That uncertainty combined with the credibility of both performers involved creates genuine anticipation. So here's what we need to pay attention to. Watch how Femi responds to Brock. Is he intimidated? Is he defiant? Does he talk back? Does he let his actions do the talking? Watch how Brock approaches the situation. Is this about proving a point? Is this about testing new talent? Is he looking for a challenge or a victim? These details matter because they set the tone for everything that follows. The wrestling community is going to be paying close attention to how this develops because both performers represent something important. Brock represents the absolute peak of where you can go in professional wrestling. Femi represents the future, the next generation of talent that WWE is investing in. When these worlds collide, it creates television gold. Make sure you're subscribed to WWE Express because we're going to break down every development in this story as it unfolds. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those notifications so you never miss our deep dives into WWE storytelling, and let us know in the comments what you think happens when these two finally step into the ring together. This is WWE Express, and we'll see you next time.